Welcome back to another episode of We Don't Know What to Watch, the podcast where two guys talk about random movies thanks to the almighty algorithm. And with me, as always, is the amazing, the incredible, the Captain Kirk to my Worf. I know that's a weird combination, but Kyle Mulford, and I am Noah Saturn. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm good. And this week's podcast is brought to you by the Canto Casino, because we're here whether we need to be or not.
I was still okay. We'll get into that, but anyway, so as you might guessed, for those we're watching Star Wars, the good one of the new trilogy.
Episode 8.
Yes.
The one that everybody loved.
Yep, universally beloved, and the one that, of course, brought a very bold new direction for the series that they really followed through in Rise of the Skywalker on. With all these new and interesting ideas.
Totally did not just ignore everything Rian Johnson did.
Mm-hmm.
The one that is 91% on Rotten Tomatoes with critics and 41% with users. Because the users are all whiny Star Wars babies. I am a huge Star Wars fan, and I don't get what people's absolute hate for this was.
There is no reason whatsoever, because you don't like a movie, no matter how much you don't like it, to harass someone so much on Twitter. Just like, dude, if you want to be angry about something, go write a fanfic. That's fine. Go make your own fan film. Just the amount of hate that Kelly Marie Tran got was just completely uncalled for.
And for what? I don't even remember what they hated her for.
Existing, being a woman.
It was just like
being in a Star Wars movie.
Her character was great.
Yeah, it's cool. She was an engineer. We didn't get to see that kind of character.
She's part of the storyline that did not need to exist in this movie.
Okay, I think that's a very important storyline.
We'll get into why I think it's not.
Okay.
But first, this is Star Wars, and this is actually a first Star Wars episode. So what's your history with Star Wars?
I saw it when I was really young, just kind of, it's like, it's always been there sort of thing.
Okay.
I don't remember time before it.
So you don't have like a deep-seated love for Star Wars. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, it's like, it's because I love Star Wars, it's fine, but you also kind of hate Star Wars because of the fans.
See, I grew up pre-prequels, and so I discovered Star Wars when I was young. And by the time I was in middle school and high school, my friend and I had watched them all the time. They're always on TBS and TNT. I had probably like 3 copies of each movie on VHS, store-bought ones, taped off a TV. I bought all the books, the paperbacks, hardcovers, like all the different...
the extended universe?
The extended universe stuff that is no longer valid anymore, according to Disney. Read a lot of that stuff. Loved all the Dark Horse comics. My friend and I went together to the special editions, as crappy as some of the editions in there were that George Lucas did, because we were excited to see Star Wars on the big screen. So we actually drove for the first one, for episode 4 in 1997. We drove like an hour and a half to see the movie. Then episode 1 comes out. And just like every other Star Wars fan, I was super stoked to see it. I went to a theater near my hometown. I got in line at like 5 a.m, and I was like the fifth or sixth person in line. And I waited in that line until 11 p.m. when the midnight tickets went on sale. And that sounds crazy, but it was one of my favorite theater experiences ever. We had Star Wars games. We had one person, like, we kind of formed a group. Like, I didn't know these people, but like the first 10 of us kind of formed a group together. And one of them knew like someone in every restaurant in town, I swear, because they were having like food brought to us all day long from different restaurants. And we played Star Wars games and just talked about Star Wars all day long. And time flew by, and we watched the movie, and we were all excited. And it was a fun experience, even though like, I was one of those that didn't realize that it sucked, because I was in a room full of Star Wars fans, and we were just...
It has to be good, right?
Yeah. We lied to ourselves that it was good. And then we realized later, no, it kind of wasn't. But yeah. And then when I got married, some of my coworkers / friends at the time got together and got me an Imperial officer uniform, and I joined the 501st. And I did that, and I trooped different events for about 10 years. So
Nice.
I only recently stopped doing that now. My kids are getting older. You would think that I would keep doing that because my kids are, older, but they're not as into Star Wars. So I kind of, but yeah, that's kind of my history with Star Wars is like I was one of those Star Wars nerds. I did every art class in high school. I would make like all of my art pertain to Star Wars.
The poor art teachers.
I have a giant canvas painting of an Empire Strikes Back poster that I painted and had Jeremy Bullock sign at a comic shop once.
Nice.
So, but anyway,
I can
that's
see here on the Zoom call behind you is the posters for the original trilogy.
yes, I do have the original trilogy posters in my theater room in the basement. So,
Nerd.
but yeah, so I'm a big fan, and I'll tell you, The Force Awakens I really enjoyed because it really had that Star Wars feel. There was a lot of nostalgia to it, but it was still a fun movie on its own. Introduced some fun new characters, and then we had The Last Jedi come out, and I went to this, and I was like, that was a cool movie because Ryan Johnson did something different, and I we hadn't seen stuff like that before. So, um, maybe we can get into a brief synopsis. It is a 2.5. It is actually the longest Star Wars movie, I believe. But if we can do a brief synopsis,
Yeah, so rebels or excuse me, the resistance, not the rebels.
yes,
It's completely different. The resistance is trying to leave their base and trying to escape, and bad guys found them. So how do we trying to escape? But they realize that somehow they found a way to get to track us through hyperspace. So that way, now we're kind of stuck in this weird stalemate of a game where if we just keep enough distance, their weapons won't affect our shields. We got to keep doing this long enough until we can figure out a way to get out of the situation. So right at the get go, this movie starts out desperate,
yeah,
which is very interesting. It's almost like the whole thing is like a slow motion car chase in that sense, because like we can't really escape, but they can't kill us either. So that's a great setup and sort of a great doom clock that focuses throughout the film. Because like, how much fuel do we have left? How long can we do this?
yeah, yeah. And the only thing I don't like about the very opening scene before they get chased is, I think the whole bombing of the dreadnought is cool. But that I like the humor in a lot of Star Wars movies, but I almost was like, "Oh God, is this movie going to be terrible?" When I heard the "your mother" joke and putting him on hold, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"What is this jokey?" Like that's not Star Wars jokes. That's like Earth movie jokes. I don't know that joke just felt so out of place. I was like, "Oh no!" But then I really enjoyed the rest of the movie.
But also, like it kind of doesn't feel out of place because there's a very similar joke in the very first one when Han is on the computers, like because everything. Oh yeah, we're fine, things are okay, we're fine. How are you? But yeah, I can understand it. I can understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, I think just the way it was worded didn't feel Star Warsy, whereas like the Han Solo's did. It was generic enough dialogue. Where this was like, "Oh, I can't hear you, so I've got to put you on hold," and then he had a "your mom" joke in there or something. I don't know.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
there weren't enough weird vowels and consonants.
but no. So yeah, basically the whole movie is them sitting in space with a dreadnought behind them, going, "What do we do? What do we do?" And here's why. So we might as well get into why I think the Canto bite scene is superfluous and didn't need to happen. And I think it was written in because they didn't know what to do with Finn. Because the only reason it exists is because all of a sudden Leia is giving the cold shoulder to Poe and tells, Holdo to do the same thing. And it's like, and then he's just going, "Do we have a plan?" And he would have never sent Finn if they would have just said, "Yeah, we've got a plan." But they just go, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." Well, they know he's hot headed and he's going to do something stupid. It's like, but that's the only reason he sends Finn, and that's the only reason the plan goes wrong. So it's like it felt kind of forced a little bit.
Yeah, it's almost as if they didn't kill Uncle Owen or Aunt Beru, then he wouldn't have had to go on the then he wouldn't have had to leave his farm.
Well, but at least that was something they were looking for him, and they killed his aunt and uncle in the process. This one was, it seems so out of place for Leia to just all of a sudden in this movie, like, because they had an established relationship in the last movie, and then all of a sudden this one's like, oh, I don't like the way you act, Poe. So to make this plot go the way it needs to go with Finn, I'm going to all of a sudden treat you completely differently in this movie.
I
And that,
think it was justified, at least to me, because Finn's whole thing is like, get in the ship and go blow stuff up. But he doesn't necessarily realize that sometimes it's better to get away because you have more people to fight another day. Because with the bombing sequence, they lost like everybody.
oh no, I get the motivation, but it still doesn't make sense because knowing that, after seeing him do that, and that's his answer to everything. So not even telling him that you have a plan, he's going to go and do something stupid because that's what you're mad at him for in the first place. So it's like, tell him you have a plan, even tell him the plan, and then it actually would have made sense for them to tell him the plan and then him go, I don't like that, and then go tell Finn to do this thing, you know? And then I wouldn't have had it as much of a problem, but I don't like that she just cold shouldered him completely instead of telling him that, going, look, I don't like what you're doing, so we're going to do it this way. Instead, it's like, I don't like what you're doing, so shove off. It didn't fit to me, but but that's just the whole Canto scene. Like everything else, we can get into the Luke stuff that
No,
most
I
people
still,
hated, including Mark Hamill, but I
yeah,
liked.
but then he turned around to it. He said that he hated it initially, then he liked it later.
No, see what he said was, and I don't know if he ever came back and said that he liked it. What he said was, I read the script, and he went to Ryan Johnson and said, I find everything that you have done with this character through the entire movie fundamentally wrong. And he goes, now I've gotten that off my chest, and now I'm going to play it how you want to play. He came back and said, I respect Ryan Johnson and what he's done, but I don't think he's ever said that he likes what he's done yet.
Fair
But
enough.
but but I found that was great because that showed what a professional he is. He's like, because his quote was, another quote was, watching that, I watched that, the director and the Jedi, and they talked to Mark Hamill a little bit in that, and he said, he goes, this isn't my character, this is everyone else's character. So I had to let that go and just play the character the way I was supposed to play it in this movie.
Hmm.
So like, I thought that was very professional of him, and he did a wonderful job.
He did. It's a great performance.
Yeah, it really is.
I still like the Canto Bite sequence because one, it establishes that there's war profiteering as a thing, which makes sense. That's another real world parallel because we already know that Star Wars is a bit of a dark universe in sense because they have stuff like the Sith and slavery and all that stuff. Two, it really gives a lot of time for Rose and Finn to shine and establish a good rapport with them. Three, it gives us a thematic point. It really solidifies Finn's character journey throughout the film because at the beginning and through even a lot of through the Force Awakens, he doesn't really care that much about the Resistance. He just wants to find Rey because kind of Rey is his one human connection outside of trying to escape from the Empire or whatever in the First Order. So it really shows them that with the character of DJ, like if you're not sort of challenging the status quo and saying you don't have an opinion, you're still sort of enforcing the status quo whether you realize it or not.
Yeah, and actually I agree with all your points there. I like a lot of the stuff that came out of the scene. Like I said, just story writing wise, that's my only thing with that whole subplot, is that it was kind of forced. But I like a lot of the same thing that you got, and we also got a stuttering DJ, which is great. Like I I I I like what's his face,
Benicio del Toro.
Benicio del Toro. he
And
does something he does something different in every movie.
good old BB-8 having BB-8 saving the day again.
Oh yeah. The one thing that that Ryan Johnson had said about this movie is that he goes, the best advice I ever got from anybody, and I think it was the people, I don't know if it was from J.J. Abrams or if it was just people who worked on episode 7, they said, whenever you need a cut scene somewhere, just insert a shot of BB-8 and it'll be working. He goes, that's the best advice I ever got, because and then watching the movie, I was watching going, oh yeah, he cut to him a lot and it works every time.
Exactly.
Because BB-8 is great. I love the BB-8 character they came up with, like as a counterpart to R2D2. I think it's great. Yeah, I also like the thoughts on the war profiteering and all that stuff, where it's like, hey, look, just like in the real world here, this guy's supplying to the bad guys and the good guys. So it's like, it's
Mm-hmm.
um but then also, even though that was kind of forced, the fact that they ended up doing that is what's alerted the First Order to the fact that what the plan was from Holdo. So if they hadn't done that whole Canto Bite thing, Holdo's plan would have worked and she would have never had to sacrifice. But however, since they did do it and she had to sacrifice, we got one of the coolest scenes in a Star Wars movie. When I
Truly.
when I watched that scene in the theater and just the screen just went silent when she went into hyperspace there, or warp speed, or whatever it's called in Star Wars, hyperspace. That was such a cool scene.
It is a really, really great moment, and a great performance by Laura Dern.
Yeah, I like Laura Dern. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people hold her to high esteem as a really great actress. I think she's okay. And like everything, I think she's just
Mm-hmm.
okay.
She's good.
Yeah. Um but I did like that scene. And that's another thing about this movie. This movie's full of a lot of cool moments too.
Mm-hmm.
Like that one, and the scene on Crate, where Luke Skywalker comes back and just stands off with those um Imperial walkers.
We finally get sort of that ultimate Jedi Master badass moment that we've been waiting for 30 years.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was a cool moment. That goes back to Luke Skywalker, and I like the direction they took with him because he was disillusioned. Like even the greatest heroes can get disillusioned, but then he came back, like you said, at the end of the movie, and kind of came back and had his last hurrah as an ultimate hero and went out on his own terms. And I was like, if you're gonna kill him off, I actually liked that he went out in his own like Luke got to sit there and just go, now I'm done. And
Mm-hmm.
I liked his ending. So I guess I never actually had a problem with the way Luke Skywalker was portrayed in this movie.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it because it's kind of like, so Luke is almost kind of becoming the one thing he never wanted to, which is sort of just like a burnout,
Yeah.
a former hippie who kind of lost everything. You saw like the end of the summer of love. Because let's face it, it's how much can you meditate and try this cool stuff, bro, to become the ultimate Jedi?
To become the last Jedi.
Hmm.
Um, can we talk about how many characters get killed off in this thing? I think Admiral Akbar gets killed off. Luke Skywalker gets killed off. Snoke, who we just met, gets killed off. And here's the thing with the new trilogy. Where the hell did Snoke come from? He looks like he's 1,000 years old. Why have we never heard of him in the other Star Wars movies?
Because he was made for these movies, so who cares? But also, apparently, according to the third one, he was just like a test tube baby made by the Emperor. So
Oh, that's right. Was it? Yeah,
it
I've only
says
seen.
like I who made what about Snoke? I made Snoke, and it literally shows just like a bunch of clone tubes of Snoke. It's like, wow, we're going there, huh?
I forgot about that because I saw Rise of the Skywalker in the theater. I've forgotten everything about it, and I haven't seen it since.
I haven't seen it since either, but it's just like I
I
just remember like that movie. Like I was mad at first, and now I just think it's kind of funny.
I need to watch it again. I like I like the first one. Now I forgot what it was called. Force Awakens. I like the Force
Hmm.
Awakens for the nostalgia factor, and it really felt like a Star Wars movie. I
Hmm.
liked The Last Jedi a lot because it does a lot of cool new things that we haven't seen in a Star Wars movie. And then Rise of Skywalker, I'm like, boy, you really dropped the ball on that, didn't you?
I think a lot of that was they had to re-scramble at the last moment due to the unfortunate passing of Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, that's true. But also, J.J. Abrams has come out later and said, "Yeah, we kind of messed up by not having an overarching story for the whole trilogy going into it because they were filming the Force Awakens, and while they were filming it, that's when Ryan Johnson started writing the second one, and he was writing it from scratch. Like they didn't have a story arc. They were like, here, do your thing. And then it was like, oh, we don't like that. So let's bring JJ Abrams back for the third one. It's like, none of this meshes. It's like,
Yeah, it's ultimately just a problem more of like management, I think.
yeah.
Because, if we're going to use Kevin Feige as the golden boy for this sort of long form type of serialized storytelling, he's smart enough to, I guess, what he figured it out is that we have some sort of, basic idea of where we want to go, but also leave like enough wiggle room so we can find our ways to get there. Like,
Yeah.
we know we want to get the Avengers together. Here's some wiggle room so if things don't work out, we can figure out and change it as we need to. And like, we know we want to fight Thanos. Well, here's some movies to get there and stuff.
Yeah. And this one was kind of, hey, we know we want to do a trilogy. Just write the first one and film it, and then we'll figure it out from there. It's like, you don't have like a beginning, middle, and end for this trilogy. Like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't even have like a base storyline. Like, that's all you needed was just a base
Yeah,
through line.
even the prequel movies have a through line, which is of course the fall of Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that was one of those things that was like, yeah, okay, Snoke's a test tube maybe. Because like in this one, I'm like, well, in the Force Awakens, I'm like, where the hell did this guy come from? And then in the next one, it's like, oh, he's dead. It doesn't matter anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Well, turns out he wasn't so all powerful, was he? But I mean, what do you do? That did lead to another badass scene with the fight in the throne room.
Yeah, I really enjoyed how they're working together. My favorite part at the end is like where like, oh, there's like a guy who's one of the bad guys is right behind Kylo Ren, so then she just like Rey tosses the lightsaber, then she just kind of turns it on and off.
Yeah.
That's a really unique way of using it, I thought.
Yeah, there was a lot of cool things like where Rey drops the lightsaber and then gets her other arm down below and then grabs it and then flips it up through the guy. And yeah, that was a really awesome choreographed scene.
Yeah, very well choreographed, very well filmed, where you know where everyone is, and then you can enjoy it.
Yeah. And the other nice thing about this movie is Ryan Johnson did a lot of practical. You know, he did it right. He did a lot of practical with some CGI to enhance it.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say
And
they were saying in
and
that.
porgs.
Do you know how the porgs came about?
Yeah, they're actually puffins
Well, yeah, but do you know why they did them?
because they couldn't get rid of them for filming.
Yeah. I was like, hey, we can't get rid of these, so let's turn them into something else CGI. I was like, that's funny. I like that. I wait to just turn them into a Star Wars character and like one of the cutest Star Wars characters.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like a lot of practical stuff. Like they were really on that island and stuff, and and then a lot of the sets that were built for this. That there was like 100 or 200 and some sets built for this movie, or
Mm-hmm.
something ridiculous.
Once you got that Disney money, right?
And I also loved that they brought back practical Yoda with Frank Oz doing it. You know, like doing the
Yeah, that
puppet
was
work.
cool.
And I was like, that's awesome. Bring back Frank Oz for that too. I can't remember if they did that for any other movies or if he was only CGI in the prequels.
It was CGI in 2 and 3. I think he was a puppet, but like a weird looking puppet in
Yeah.
Phantom Menace.
And they did a good job with this one because they said they found the original mold and made a new Yoda from that,
Nice.
and like did as meticulously as they could to make him look like the previous.
It was great. I really
The
liked that brief scene.
one thing I'm not sure if I like or not is, and then they went further with it in the third movie, Rise of Skywalker, is the whole, oh, I can use the Force to see you even though you're 1,000 miles away, or like, 1,000 light years away. I was like, I wish they would just stop adding powers to the Force, because it's just like, oh, let's make up something else that will like progress our storyline, because like, and they've done, this isn't the first movie to do that, but it's like, oh, here's something else the Force can do because that'll help the story in this movie. It's like, stop just making up more and more and more about the Force.
It's kind of like Golden Age Superman, where he would just have whatever power they needed him to have.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's like, oh, this works for this story, so let's let him have this power. And it's like,
Like, don't get me wrong, some of those are crazy in the best way. Like when he makes like mini versions of himself.
yeah, but I did not like the "I can see you" Force power.
I thought it was funny because I just thought it was a Zoom call.
I don't.
Because like, oh, it's like I can't see your background. Like, oh, I can see where you are. Do we need to do this right now? Like he's shirtless. So he's like he's in the shower or whatever.
Don't you have like a cowl or something to put on?
Yeah, it's a Zoom call.
Oh shit! I'm on the toilet. What are you doing? Calling me now?
This movie predicted the Zoom economy.
It did. Yeah, so there are things that there are a few things I don't like about this movie, but overall, like, I really am a fan of this movie. I enjoy watching this. I actually started for this podcast. I started watching it with the audio commentary, and I was like, yeah, I gotta just turn that off and watch the movie because I like this one.
It is still very watchable.
Yeah, and this is the one I've watched the most out of the new trilogy. Like I said, Rise of Skywalker, I saw in the theater once. I haven't seen it since. I do need to rewatch it just to see it again. But Force Awakens I've watched a couple times. This one I've watched probably like 6-7 times.
Also, Rey Palpatine is the dumbest thing ever.
But her parents were nobodies.
Yeah, exactly. So that kind of ruins the purpose. It doesn't make it about like, how greatness can come from anywhere. It makes it about like, oh, it only matters if you've got like if you're related to some terrible person.
Yeah, because let's just ignore the broom kid.
Yeah.
At the end of this one, I was like, that was a great ending too, especially using that Canto Bite scene where they talk to that kid and they're like, we're from the Resistance, and at the end of the movie he's just he's got like this hope in his eye, like, oh, I met the Resistance and I want to fight for the Resistance one day. And then you see him get the broom and it's just like, oh cool, like a new Jedi, like who's not related to anybody, and then Rey is not related to anybody, and then you get to Rise of Skywalker, is like, oh yeah, she is.
And you're just like, damn it.
Like, screw you, J.J. Abrams. Even if you didn't like what Rian Johnson did, respect it enough to continue with it.
Yeah.
So that it makes sense.
Moral of the story, the internet is terrible. Shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah. I don't know if there's...
It's great. Star Wars fans are terrible sometimes.
I was never one of those.
Yeah, but I think it's...
No, there are a lot of toxic Star Wars fans, and I was always one that was just like, like you said, I read a lot of books, I read a lot of comics, I watched all the movies, I was in the 501st. I loved Star Wars. I just loved the like being a part of that, and like and absorbing all of that. And if people didn't like it, who cares? And if people did like, or if I liked a movie or didn't like a movie within the series, everyone's got their own taste. There's certain things I don't like, in the
it's
Star
not
Wars
my
stuff.
personality.
Yeah, exactly. But that can go for like every movie. I think it's an important lesson for like movies in general, because you get a lot of there are some sites like that I've followed in the past that started getting a little snobby about like and going literally saying, oh, you're a complete idiot if you think this was, this aspect of this was good. It's like, well, no, you didn't like it, someone else does. It just every movie has a fan out there somewhere. So you know what? If you don't like it, say you don't like it. I mean, we disagreed on the Canto Bite story plot line, but that was just, I disagree, you disagree, and but we both like the movie, and we both have our own opinions on it.
And we both don't harass someone on Twitter just because they were in a movie.
Exactly. That's just dumb.
Like, am I going to start harassing Kim Kardashian because I didn't like her in the Paw Patrol movie? No.
Oh, I say how much I hate the fact that she's a celebrity, because just because she's a celebrity, I don't even know how that worked. But I'm not going to go harass her on Instagram or
Yes.
Twitter or.
Let's see. Well, it started like this. Her dad, the first Kardashian, was one of the defense attorneys in the O.J. Simpson murder trial. Therefore, later, bouncing off of that, she released a sex tape, which them somehow landed into getting their reality show Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and it's kind of gone from there.
Yeah. And even with that explanation, I'm still like, why is she famous?
Yeah, it's bizarre.
It's kind of like, when The Simple Life came out and it was Nicole Richie and Paris Hilton. I'm going, you're only famous because your dads are famous. Like, or
Hmm.
like one of them owns a hotel chain and one of them's a famous singer. Like, you people are nothing. Like you're just famous because your dads are famous. Like, that's the only
Yeah.
reason. But
Isn't that right, Jamie Lee Curtis? No, she's.
she at least had some talent.
Well, she's talented, and she definitely admits, like, yeah, I definitely knew I had a leg. Like, I acknowledge that I definitely had a leg up because of who my parents are.
Well, and here's the thing is if you have famous parents, like that happens all through Hollywood history. If you've got talent, then yeah, then I'm okay. But if you go, my parents are famous, so I'm going to have a reality show. No, I'm done with that.
Hmm.
I ain't about that.
Yeah,
But
not everyone can be a Barrymore family where they're actually all pretty talented.
right. But I think we've digressed. So, Last Jedi, yay or nay?
Yeah, the best Star Wars movie. Fight in the comments.
Uh,
Boost that engagement.
I will not agree. I will agree to disagree. It is not the best Star Wars movie, but it ranks right up there.
Hmm. So how would we do this as a double feature? Because in this segment, if we like the movie, what would we pair it with? If we didn't like the movie, what do we watch instead? So, instead of just picking another Star Wars movie, I think I'll pick Watch This with Knives Out because that also is another. It really shows Ryan Johnson and his ability as a writer and his how he works as a writer and sort of in the way he plots a movie as opposed to just like another Star Wars movie.
Yeah, and I was kind of wondering if you would go the route of recommending another Ryan Johnson. So I am actually going to recommend another Star Wars just because I grew up a Star Wars nerd, and I think that like The Last Jedi is totally about Luke Skywalker and like his final moments and everything, and just as much as it is about Rey coming into her own. And so I think that you should watch the beginning of Skywalker with A New Hope, and then the end of Skywalker with The Last Jedi. Just watch
I
those
was
two back to back.
I was hoping you were going to say the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Yes, where he goes and watches Wookiee porn
Mm-hmm.
with Chewbacca's grandpa or whatever.
Chewbacca's dad, Itchy.
I've seen the Star Wars Christmas special once.
um, the Riff Tracks guys have a great version of it, so that's the best way to watch it.
Although we do have to thank the Christmas special for being the first place that Boba Fett shows up
True.
in
And
cartoon form.
it gave us Wookiee Life Day,
Yes, Wookiee
the
Life Day.
greatest holiday in the universe.
And let us all celebrate Life Day by watching The Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm. Happy Life Day. All right, you can find us on social media.
We're not there yet. We gotta find our next
I
movie.
forgot we got to spin the wheel.
We gotta spin the wheel.
I was just so excited about the holiday. I wanted to watch the holiday special right away.
All right, 70 or better, all genres. All right, we have Carl Allen has stumbled across a way to shake free of post-divorce blues and a dead-end job. Embrace life and say yes to everything.
Oh, I is this about a guy who decides to say yes?
Is it about a man who says yes?
Yes.
Yes, man.
Oh man.
With Jim Carrey and Zoe Deschanel and Bradley Cooper and John Michael Higgins and Terrence Stamp.
Nice.
uh,
Yeah, this was kind of like what was it? One of the last movies that Jim Carrey did before he took his big break.
and kind of went off the deep end.
I was gonna say yeah before you had to deal with personal stuff, but
Yeah. Yeah, this is from 2008. It's on Netflix, and it's called Yes Man.
yep.
This will be our second Jim Carrey movie.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Me, myself, and Irene. Uh,
Why can't we get like a good one?
if I remember correctly, this one wasn't bad, but I
Hmm.
don't know if it was real great either. We'll
I
see.
never watched it.
I think it was okay if I remember correctly, but I don't think I've seen it since it came out in 2008.
Hmm.
So who knows? We'll see. But
I
till
was
then,
hoping
you
we get
can.
the cable guy, one of the weird ones.
Is there something wrong with your service? The password is fourth skin. Oh, I like the cable guy. But till then, you can find us on the Twitters. Not insulting other people on Twitter. Um,
Hmm.
I'm at AwesomeKM,
I'm at Noah_Saturn. That is spelled Satern.
and we're on Instagram at We Don't Know What to Watch, and you can email us at We Don't Know What to Watch at gmail.com. Like, subscribe, comment. Just don't put toxic comments about Last Jedi. We've all seen enough of that in the last
Yeah,
when the movie came out.
I think like yeah, I think I still have like Star Wars just muted on Twitter. I was so
Right.
mad. I'm so sick of it.
So until next time, have your opinion and respect others.
Yeah, be nice to others. It's okay to disagree. Just don't harass people.
And The Last Jedi is cool.
And The Last Jedi is the best Star Wars movie. Fight in the comments.
I'll fight you right now.
Okay.